All right, in the last video, we talked about building responsive design and how important it is, and I showed you the basics of how things work, it trickles down and all that. In this video, we're going to kick it up a notch. We're going to look at some more advanced things that you could do, some stuff that kind of, just takes it to the next level. So, without further ado, let's get to this video, and we will get to it right after these messages.
Brick School is sponsoring a 50% off sale for both BricsBits and BricsFX. BricsBits gives you professional, easy-to-use templates, and BricsFX gives you easy-to-use, subtle animation classes that take your project to the next level. This is a limited-time offer, and your purchase helps Brick School keep going. Links are in the description.
All right, guys, so let's just jump right in. There's some stuff to get to, and we this is what I used in the example, but I've kind of taken some stuff away and I've left some stuff. So we're just going to deal with this featured package here. And if you'll remember, we had it so that it stacks all three, and here at the mobile, we are hiding a package. So let's here we were saying at this breakpoint we are going to say display none, so that we only have the two packages. So that's all good and dandy. We have our breakpoint with all three and our featured right in the middle. We have our mobile landscape where we have only two, and so our featured would be on the right. That makes a whole bunch of sense. But here, I don't know if this really makes sense anymore, because if you think about it, somebody's phone cut off, what they call above the fold in the newspaper days, that probably isn't going to see the featured package when it loads. So when we're in this mobile device, and in fact, let's go ahead and look on the front end so that we can kind of see this in mobile. So we're here, and let's refresh that. And I think I just need to go save this. Okay, so we're going to refresh that. And so we have our package of two. We come down, we got our package of one. There you go. And we're looking down, and see, like it's too low. So how on this mobile do we get this one to come here? Well, that is where you use a simple web, or I should say CSS trick, and that's called order. So here, this is being our second card. We want this card to come up first. So what do? Well, we come down here right at the bottom. See, it says order. I can say, well, let's do -1. Now, that's a little trick. -1 is always going to be the first. I guess -2 would be before it, but you see what I'm saying? Anything minus will come up before. So instead of going and numbering each one, here you see that this says small package. Let's say this is, I don't know, large package, whatever, so that you can see the difference between the two. So you've got your featured now will come up first on your mobile landscape, but it won't come up first on your desktop because, see, comes up second. We put that order, here, let's grab the proper card. You see that order? Now, if I wanted it to come up first here, I could go -1, the other thing I could do is I could do 1, but then I'd have to go change this one here, to 2, which is dumb. Why would you do that? Don't do that. Use minus. It saves you a lot of time. All right. So, -1 if we wanted to, but for now, let's leave it at this. We'll go ahead and save it, and we will refresh it. And there you go. So you can see, we're going from full right in the middle, stays on the right, but there is no third one. And now, boom, comes up. It's pretty good little trick, isn't it? Use that all the time. Now, another thing you may want to do is to change the way that things are being presented. Now that you know how to move something, hey, I can get this to go to a different place, you can really take this to the next level. So here we have our pricing wrapper, our name wrapper, that, you know, what it is. And then we have the kind of the package title. Okay. Well, do we really on the mobile, do we really want, and you know what? I'm going to keep dealing with this. So let's go ahead and just remove that -1. See, because every time I click it, it scrolls down because it's going to the second place. It doesn't pick up on the fact. So let's edit this first card. Okay. And that way, every time I click it, it should stay in visual. Okay, so there we go. So we have this, you know, we have our name wrapper. No, I guess it doesn't. It's going to keep going out of the thing. Whatever. We have our name wrapper. We have our pricing wrapper, which is this one here. And we have our package title. And of course, every time I click it, it goes up. So there you go. So what's the point here? The point is on this breakpoint level, we don't want it. See, it looks good here to have the price and the thing, but here, maybe we want to have the price come up first, okay? So we just saw how to get it to come up first, but before we do that, instead of this grid being, and I believe this, you know, again, you can always look here and you can see where it's being inherited from. So it's being inherited from the class at the breakpoint of desktop. So let's go ahead and get the class. Doesn't really need to be the class though. I mean, you could do this on the ID level. So, you know, but in this, for this, let's go ahead. And what we'll do is we'll do grid 1. And now it stacks them. And that's better. You know, I mean, it doesn't really change much though, does it? So let's take this price wrapper. And instead of this, tell you what, let's go ahead and center that. And on this price, instead of the price being what it is, let's go ahead and we'll select this. And we can see here again, we can see, oh, okay, well, we're setting the font size. So let's go ahead and set the font size, I don't know, to say text XL. Okay. And we'll set the font size to text XL. Not big enough. Let's go 3XL. All right. Now we're getting bigger, you know. But I tell you what, let's be silly about it, and we'll go calc, and we'll take that size and we will times it. I don't know, by 1.4 maybe. Let's try that. 1.4. Let's go 1.6. There you go. We're trying to make this boom visible. All right. So there you go. Bob's your uncle. Now, I did this on the ID level, and that was probably a mistake. It's funny, I went back and forth, and I wasn't sure if I should do it on the ID level or not. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to show you. So, you know, I should have done it on the class level, but that's okay. So here we go. We get to the single and boom, now see the price changes. So now all of a sudden this looks like a totally different card than this. However, remember we just did that order thing. Well, let's take this order and let's move it. Oop, I'm on the wrong tab. Let's take this order and make it -1 so that the price comes up first. We'll go ahead and save that. And now it really looks like a different card, you know? So you come through and boom. Because again, things are going to be built different for the mobile. Let me give you another example here. As you see here on desktop and stuff, you got lots of room. You could talk about, you know, lots of words. You might want it to be shorter on the mobile. So what I actually would do is I would have this and you know, maybe this description is important. I would actually have a mobile one. So what I would do is I'd come like this and I'd go mobile description. Oops. Mobile description. And then I would have my regular description. And don't get me wrong, I know what a lot of you are thinking. It's like, well, why don't you just go limit how many words, word limit and because then you don't really know where it's going to cut off. Again, desktop is not, or I should say mobile is not just the desktop shrunk down. You have to rearrange it. Sometimes instead of saying, hey, this is a really great package, blah, 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 you just have to point out the nucleus of the idea. Web design's about storytelling, and you need to tell the story in whatever format you have. And if you have a very small device, you need to use less words to tell the story. Okay? So there you go. There's one thing you could do. And in the last video, I showed you how this here, you would, at this break point. So what I would do is I'd come to the biggest break point and I would change. Now you may see like, oh, hey, wait a sec. I can't make this display none because yeah, you can. It's under your layout. I don't exactly know why they kind of hid it down here, but you can go display none. And then you can come to your mobile and you go ahead and you change it back to display flex. I think it is by default, and then you would do the same here. This one here. Okay. So let me actually say, okay, this is mobile. Okay. And our first one on this one, which is this is our desktop description. We would go ahead and, ixnay this one. So we're going to come down here and go display none. And there you go. And remembering that it follows downhill. So we have the big package, or I should say the big text, the big text, the big text. And when we get here, boom, small text. All right. Very important. And it goes further than just, oh yeah, let's kind of shrink some stuff. You could change it around. You change how it's displayed. Okay, so I've imported just a simple, thing from Bricks Bits. Again, just an easy template, and I put in a couple of pictures just so you can see. Now, by default, obviously, Bricks Bits templates would have this, so I had to go and remove some stuff to show you. But here's the idea. You got to remember that you're designing for a screen that is taller than it is wide when you're working on the mobile. So whereas these vertical, or I should say horizontal pictures look good, and in the actual template, I use a 3x2, which kind of gives you that it's 3 wide by 2 high, but you might want to just do one and have square images, which can look cool. But they don't look as good on a wide screen. So it's 3x2, but watch when we come down here, we get to this single, this may not be enough of the image to show. So you can come here in this aspect ratio and you can go 1. And now you've got that nice square image that shows the image a whole lot better, and I mean, you could, don't think you'd want to, but oops, I always do this backwards. 1x2, and you can really, make it phone enabled if you wanted to, or I should say, phone-esque, but I think 1 is good enough. Also with this aspect ratio, it doesn't have to be whole numbers. So you see how 1 is kind of square and 1/2. So it's 1 width and 2 height is too much. Well, you can split the difference. And yeah, okay. If you're really good at fractions, you would know that 2/3 is, 1/1.5. However, if you suck at fractions, don't worry about it. Just go 1.5. It's the same as 2/3. Okay. But what it allows you to do is to, you can really tune it in. Let's say I wanted to go 1.4. No, I go 1.2. You see what I'm saying? If I wanted it to be really tall, 1.7. So you can kind of tune it in. And, look, you can even go to the second number so you get the idea. You can change your point. Now, you may be thinking, oh, well, that's great. And in fact, I just had a Brick School user ask this last week. I went and looked at one of her things, and the picture wasn't sitting right, you know? And here you're going to kind of see that. Here you can't really see the outline. But the thing is, as we change this aspect ratio around, you know, it's still working because there's enough of the backs or blank space around the person. If there wasn't, you know, let's say this image was cut off right at the top of his head, you would not be able to go certain distances because it just can't push past the edge of the image, right? So that's why whenever you get images or whatever, you always want to have more blank space. So another thing we can do is, let's say we wanted to compress this, and I don't know, let's go 2:1. All right. Now you can see that all of the image isn't fitting in anymore. You know, like this guy's getting cut off, and, you know, she's looks all right, but this doesn't look so great. Well, the great thing is you can position them. So here I have done this 2.1, and I mean, I could even be a bit more dramatic and say 3.1 and kind of really, I tell you what, let's split the difference and go 2.5. Okay, so it's wrong, but it's still kind of right. Now, I can set exactly where we're centering on this picture using the object position. Now, 50% the first one, because we're using the full width here anyway. That's kind of what, you know, we're making this image shorter. So 50% doesn't matter because I can't change my focus point. I'm using 100% of it, but I am not using 100% of the image. So if I go 20%, you see how the focus is now up here in the top 20%. And then I can kind of tune it in. So if I wanted, let's say maybe 10%, but you know what? 20% looks pretty good. Actually, let's even go 30. Now it's looking pretty good, but not on this guy, right? On this guy, he's too cut off, way too cut off. So what we're going to do is make sure you're not on the class, because we just want to affect this one. So the first number doesn't matter in this case. However, if I go 10%, well, now all of a sudden this guy's fitting in. And actually, if I go down to 1%, because his image was kind of cropped. So you see how I can get that eye line straightened out, you know? And then here, this girl here, well, the car is gone. I can't even see what the point of this image is. So what I'm going to do is, once again, I'm going to go 50%, make sure you're on the ID level. And now I can sort of see the top of the car because it's focusing right about here, but I want the focus to be down here. So it's from the top. You're going to come down. So, you know, here's the kicker. We really want the car because that kind of shows that she's on something. So we could just go 100%. And that'll get the bottom. Maybe that's too much of the car. So let's go back it off just a little, 90%. Now that tree line looks weird. I think we're going to have to go 80% too. 85%. Anyway, you get the idea. You can change the image shape, but you can also, as you're designing for the mobile. Now, nothing has changed. If I go back to the desktop, still got these images. And if I look what the class is saying, they're still 3x2. You know, it's once you get down here, you go, oh, you know, it would be nice because people are scrolling. They don't want them scrolling forever. You can compress the image and then you can zoom in right on where you want to on that image. So that's it, guys. This was hopefully just giving you a couple other responsive ideas. I'll be doing a whole thing on the image, resizing, and because honestly, that one is its own video and then some, and it's something that I really had to trial and error myself, but getting it is really, really important to getting a great layout. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.